Josh, there's so many things in this world for the Christian to be distracted by. What should be the Christian's focus?
Well, I think the theme of the New Testament, which you cannot escape, which is with every single author that we have, there is a focus, there is a centrality on what is to come, on something more. And I think we see this because what has actually been accomplished in salvation, what God's purpose in redemption is to make a people that are holy, to make a people that are spotless, that are sinless, to worship Him for all eternity. Now that cannot be brought to fruition until this is all put off. It cannot be brought to fruition until, as Paul would say, every knee is bow and every tongue would confess that Jesus Christ is the Lord. And so we see that because of this, there is this looking forward to something else, looking forward to the end of the battle, looking forward, as a hymn would say, the day for which all creation was made. Now, in keeping with these passages, I think that we as Christians need to have this focus, because Christ came to put away sin. We have to ourselves be where there is no sin. Our longing, our desire is to be sinless, to worship God in perfection for all of eternity. We want to be worshipers. That's our identity. It says that the spirit and the flesh are completely contrary to one another. The light and darkness cannot be together. There is no darkness in God whatsoever. And we have been brought into the light. So what we long for more than anything is to have wickedness put away from us. And so we see, for example, we look at 1 John 3. He says, I'm always slow getting these passages. He says, "Behold, what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God. And so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. Beloved, we are God's children, and now. And what will it be, what we will be, has not yet appeared. But we know that when He appears, we shall be like Him, because we shall see Him as He is." And then this is what he says. He says, "And everyone who thus hopes in Him purifies himself as He is pure." That hope is the being conformed into the image of Jesus Christ. And it's having that hope in us which drives us to live a life of holiness. Paul, in Philippians chapter 3, it drove him. He said nothing else mattered to him but attaining to that resurrection, but being conformed into that image, but living for that day when he would see his Lord face to face. And as it says that our citizenship is in heaven, in that sense. Why? Because it's there that this body will be taken away and we will be transformed, as he ends chapter 3, into the image of our glorious Savior. It's also given as the motivation in Colossians chapter 3, where it says, "Christ is your life, and when He appears, you will also appear with Him in glory. Therefore, mortify sin in your flesh." It has to be the driving factor that He will save us fully. Sin will be done away with forever. And if we do not have that focus, if that is not what we're striving for, then where is the love of God in us? Or do we have God's perspective? Because what He wants is a people that is particular, a people that is holy to Him, which He Himself will bring to fruition in the last day. Now we have to have that hope in us, and if we don't, as Christians, we will fall into one of two things. Either we will fall into apathy, because we know that we're going to keep failing. We're still in this flesh. This flesh is corruptible, and we're going to keep sinning. And you and I have to come to that reality right now, that I'm going to sin. I'm going to keep sinning until the day that I die. I will sin and sin and sin and fail against my Lord. And if I am like in my own strength striving to obtain that perfection now, instead of hoping in having the hope of righteousness, as it says, in what is to come, I am either going to be brought to total apathy, where I disregard holiness, and I just be consumed with the things around me and in the world without giving regard to living a life of holiness, or I'm going to be brought to total despair. And I'm going to live my life depressed and down all the time and just like beating myself up over my sin. If we don't have that perspective, we will end up in one of those camps. We will be apathetic and we will disregard holiness, and we will live our lives depressed because we can't attain to what we want. We need to have that eternal perspective, that we live as citizens of a different kingdom. We are pilgrims and strangers in this life, but one day our Savior will lead us home, and we will forever, for all eternity, worship Christ perfectly, without any failure whatsoever. And He will be eternally pleased in us. And that is our hope. That is the full salvation. That's the day for which all creation was made. And that's when God will truly be glorified in the redemption of His people unto Himself. And so we live for that day. We live for that hope. And that's why the apostles were so focused on it. That's why, like in almost every passage you turn to in the scriptures, they're always exhorting us to look forward to something which is to come. Because that is the Christian's life. That is where the Christian finds identity. And without that, there's nothing.